I just wanna love you, just wanna hold you, just wanna be with you till we grow old. Please tell me you'll stay or take me away. I want you for myself every single day. You set my world on fire. You set my world on fire. I just want you, I just need you, I don't know.
And welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to a brand new video. Hope everybody is really well and enjoying the fact that it's finally the autumn. Currently sat here very cozy in a cozy jumper, 2 pumpkin spice candles burning by the side of me. Of course I have a cup of tea and today I'm doing an updated Q&A and not literally, but quite literally spilling the tea. I feel like I haven't done an updated Q&A in such a long time over on my YouTube channel, and a little while ago I did actually ask you guys to ask me some questions over on Instagram, and I've only just got around to filming it. Now this video has been pre-filmed by a few weeks because I am currently in Bali while you're watching this, and obviously I can't be at home doing a Q&A while in Bali, so I'm filming it now. It will then be scheduled to go up on the day that you're currently watching it. And because it is the autumn, everybody, and because it is a home video sharing with you guys my question and answers, I fully recommend you getting cozy, grabbing a cup of tea, and let's start the video. So it's kind of quite difficult when you're given so many questions in so many different orders, you don't know really where to start, so I feel like I'll just start with the first question I was asked first. So these may come out in really weird orders, but there's quite a few to get through, so we aren't sat here all day. I will pick the best ones, but I'm not going to be avoiding ones that I want to be avoiding, if that makes sense. Okay, so the first question is, when you were younger, did you know you were going to be an equestrian? So however much I am extremely horsey and I love horses, I was lucky enough to have never been given the choice as to whether I wanted to be or not wanted to be. My mum was extremely horsey, and so I think before I was walking or talking, I was riding. My mum was always horsey beforehand and always had horses, and when I first started riding, I was learning to ride at a riding school before getting a Shetland, and my Shetland was called Rosie. She had 2 blue eyes. We started going to pony club. Now, I didn't do pony club for too long because Rosie was extremely naughty. I won't disclose the term of what we call Shetlands, but we all know what I'm thinking of. It starts with a roo, ends in Shetland. A complete stereotypical Shetland. She really was evil, actually, and she really put me through my paces. She was so nappy, she was naughty, she was ever so cute. Now looking back, I think I would find it hilarious. At the time, I just used to sit there and cry and want to give up. And after Rosie, it then swiftly moved on to quite big time showing, and we ended up going from about 1 horse to about 13. Obviously not all in work, but near enough all in work, or ready to be broken to become lead rein and then first ridden ponies. The ones that ended up sticking, Polly, show name Twyland's Polly, and she was actually the first pony that took me to Horse of the Year show in lead rein. That was in 2005, and I will leave a photo of that on the screen. And Polly was just the cutest. She used to suck her tongue, like literally she used to suck her tongue, and it was just, it was so cute. I'm actually still in touch with a girl that now owns her, and she taught her to ride and then decided to keep her as a brood mare. I'm still up to date with what Polly's up to, which is so lovely. Then there was a Dartmoor, and the Dartmoor was actually called Darty. Ironically, Darty the Dartmoor. And he, again, oh, he was an absolute legend, and I feel like, obviously I'm no expert, so I can't, so don't like fully go off of my recommendations, but if you're short, you're not too tall, you're young, and you're looking for a breed that's going to be the best first pony, especially if you're into showing low-level dressage and like going into some like little tiny jumps, a Dartmoor, in my opinion, is the best first pony. On the whole, they're super cute, they're super friendly. I do feel like they're quite hard to get hold of, so if you are looking for something, I would maybe recommend going to a breeder as opposed to looking online. But he was the most fun and one of the most memorable horses I think I've had. I loved Darty so much. So we sold him once I outgrew him, and then like been lots of different horses in between. I was very lucky to have grown up on a big farm. We didn't stay and do up on a big farm. I think about 2 up into the age of 11 or 12. We did have a very, like not just luxurious, but I was very lucky to have an amazing great big farm for a good few years, and obviously we used that to our advantage and got lots of horses. So I was always finishing school and riding about 10 horses. And so after I outgrew Darty and Polly, and they were the first 2 to kind of they're the first 2 to get me out of lead rein, to get me into lead rein, and then out of lead rein into first ridden, and then Darty and I did a couple of open classes, which then got me ready. I think I must have been about 8 or 9 at this point when I then moved on to Sotheby and Moto. Sotheby was a Section B, and he was just beautiful. He was absolutely beautiful. He had the biggest buck in him you could ever imagine, but the only times he would ever buck is if we were jumping and we finished, like on the last jump, he would buck with excitement because he loved jumping. I hated it, he loved it. No shock there. Or if we were in an open class, and at the time, if you're not into showing or don't know much about showing basically, when you first go in, you all go round together. So you walk, trot, cantering all round together if you're in an open class. And at the time, the Welsh Bees, which is what Sotheby was, were in with the Welsh Seas, which are also Welsh Cobs, which is what Ringo is. So they're nice, so they're big and they're beefy and they're loud and they're noisy and they make a lot of noise on the ground. Also, he wasn't long cut when I first got him, and he had been breeding beforehand as well. So he was automatically very a very stallion-y gelding, but with the big cobs up his bum going round in canter or gallop in an open go round. He was very, very frisky, and that's the only other time when we'd have our buck. And my legs were like this on the saddle. I don't even think my heels came down off the saddle, going around an open Olympia class on this little section B. And I remember once we did the first ridden in the morning and I either wrong-legged it or I went wrong or something happened, and Mum decided to put us in the open Olympia class in the afternoon. This was, I think I'd only been riding him a few months at this point. He hadn't long been broken, but just to kind of get our groove back and just kind of get back on a roll, she entered us in another class in the afternoon, happened to be the Olympia. And obviously with an Olympia qualifier, you don't just win your section, thank goodness at this point. You have to win the championship. So we went into class. I'm talking so much, aren't I? But anyway, we asked for a Q&A and we're getting one. This is like a life story here. But Sotheby was 12.2 because I was still able to do the first riddens on him, and in the opens the section Bs are allowed to go up to 13.2, first riddens are 12.2, near enough to the centimetre. So he was a little tiny bee in amongst all of these bigger bees and Cs. So he went into this class and he was so beautiful that he really did hold his own, and somehow we managed to win the class. However, when the judge wasn't looking and we had the Bs up our bum and we had the Cs up our bum in the go round, it was also like, I can also remember being really bad weather. It was windy, it was raining, which obviously sparks any horse up. The bucks he was putting in behind the judge, I was nearly crying, somehow managed to win the class. Obviously right-legged it for once. And I was so young and so non-knowledgeable that when it came to do the in hand, the judge literally picked me up and moved me out the way because I was stood in the way of him looking at Sotheby's legs in the confirmation. So yeah, somehow we managed to win that class, but then in the championship, luckily now thinking about it, because I would never in a million years, at that age anyway, have managed him at Olympia, but he really, really wanted us. He was desperate to have us. There was one judge that really did love Sotheby, and it was a good day for it, and yeah, luckily we also went ballistic and bucked a lot in front of the judge in the championship, and he then couldn't have us, which was great. Now as an adult, that was fantastic. And there was Sotheby, and then there was Moto, and I think Moto is one of my favourites ever. He was so cool and we got on so well. Sotheby and Moto both took me to Horse of the Year show. Moto actually ended up being sour after Hoys. I just think the stress of everything, he was quite a sensitive horse, so he knew but he loved dressage, absolutely loved dressage, and he would know when the ramp went down the lorry and we were leading him up the lorry if he was going to a dressage or if he was going to a show. Now, if he was going to a show, he'd be a nightmare. If he was going to a dressage, he would be incredible. But he was a show hunter pony. He was one of those he wasn't quite chunky enough to be a top draw hunter pony, but he was not big enough then to be a 13.2 show pony, as he was a 13-hander. He was still so beautiful, and I still did get to hoist in the 13-handers. He was kind of like a bit of an in-betweenie. Now you've got the part breds and you've got the hoist part breds, which we didn't have back in the day. So yeah, I think that would have been a different story now, but yeah, at the time we just had either 13-handers or 13.2 show ponies, and he was just a bit of an in-betweenie. He had lots more in between this, as I said before. I had a hunting pony that I used to go out hunting with and hacking with. He was a Welsh C, called a Black Welsh Section C, and his show name was Peasdown Amarillo. He was the best. He was just the most safest, most fun horse I've ever had in all of my life. So he was amazing, and we had lots. But in between all of this, while I was still riding Sotheby and Moto, maybe even Polly and Darty, I can't remember the switch over. My mum and my dad went for a little holiday to Wales, and they went to the Welsh Cob Sales, and they came back with Ringo and another foal. Ringo was just a yearling, and the foal obviously was just born that year, Copper. And so yeah, we then watched both of them grow up. We broke them both in at the same time. Ringo was super easy and was home within, we sent them both away to be broken because obviously at the time I was still super young. Also it's, you know, not legal to ride a stallion at a competition or out unless you're a certain age on the 1st of January. I think it's 14 on the 1st of January for like the large breeds. I think at the time when he was 4, I think I was 12, so we did actually wait a couple of years obviously because there was no point in him just kind of being wasted, you know, broken and wasted, not being able to do things. So we did wait with him, but he was literally back. So we sent them away to get broken. He was back within a week. The easiest horse I think that yard had ever had to break. And Copper started off amazing, and I was riding him. He was huge. He was a Welsh Section D cob. He was absolutely massive. He was chestnut with a flaxen mane and tail, so a really golden chestnut with blonde, like white mane and tail. He was super flashy. He had 4 white socks, a huge blaze. He was beautiful. He was doing really well. We had a lesson with a top dressage instructor. I'm not going to mention names or anything like that because she did her job, but she did her job a little bit too well on young horses that had just been backed, and it was a lesson that went a little bit too far too quickly. Even Ringo struggled and we had to stop it with him because he was like, whoa, I can't do this, and with Copper he completely soured, and I just never got on with him again. And being non-confident and where I was kind of not that confident, like I am confident, but I don't want to hurt myself for no reason. And he was huge. If he was Ringo size, I'd have ridden through it and it'd been absolutely fine. But he was absolutely massive. And then he got a bit of a thing for me. So he was cut really young. He was a gelding. Every time I'd do his rugs up and turn him out, he'd almost kind of try to, you know, he got a little bit fruity, and he just scared me in the end. So we sold a lovely family that still have him and he's doing really well. Another horse in for rebacking, reschooling and getting out competing to sell as well. As after selling Sotheby and Moto, they were so well schooled by myself and we were competing all the time and everything was perfect, to then having Ringo, who had just been broken and couldn't turn, couldn't do a circle. Even now, like he's so strong and awkward, like it's, you know, he's quite hard to manoeuvre, but I literally went from well schooled to not schooled. Obviously I was in no way being a brat about it, but I think my mum was a little bit like, oh poor Scar. So a friend of ours that breeds had a beautiful 13-2 show pony in, and obviously I was still young and small and tiny at the time, so obviously I still fitted a 13-2 show pony, and we had Itzy in, and Itzy was amazing. So I had him for the season. Obviously he was in for selling, so he did end up being sold. And then I just focused on Ringo, and I had Ringo, and I've had Ringo now for 14 years, 15 years next year, so not long until we've had him for 15 years. And he's just been the best. But it's been on and off with him due to me being a teenager and going through teenage years as we do when we're kind of 17, 18. And then I got back into it when I was 19 and kind of got him back fit again, back competing. And when we got to a really good level, we'd just started competing at elementary, doing really well. I had a very horrible ex-boyfriend who I then, and for that reason, whatever the reason was, I stopped riding for a year. Then we had COVID, and I wasn't allowed at the yard and the yard that he was at was a private yard and it was obviously shut. So he then had like another year and a bit during lockdown of not being ridden. And then last April, we moved to Forest Oaks, and that's where it all began again. That was Ringo's story. And then a few years before that, just as I started with Ringo again, I decided to buy myself an intermediate. I'd always wanted an intermediate of show type, and again, if you're not into showing, it's the really posh, beautiful plaited ponies that you see. They're usually always bay. They always look really quiet. They're not. If you see them quiet in the arena, they're on something. 9 times out of 10, they're not quiet. And she was beautiful. We just didn't get on. So we tried, and then we put her into a dressage livery yard, and that's actually how we first went into a livery. Was I couldn't manage her at home on my own, so we moved her into livery, and then I got used to the social side of things, and I decided to move Ringo in as well. That was the story of how we eventually got into livery and how I left my mum's yard, who has stables, etc., and you know, a private yard at home, and moved into livery. And we tried, and I tried competing her a few times. And she was just a little bit too much for me. Also like chunky. There wasn't much underneath me. I didn't feel that safe up there. So yeah, we sold her, we kept Ringo, and here we are today. And I've been talking for 18 minutes on one question. Great. Okay, so I'm going to do the next couple at quick fire because I feel like that was a riding story. So what age did you start riding? I started riding properly, I'd say at about 3, maybe 4 years old. Another one, when did you start riding? You're such a good rider, but how long did it take to get there? It takes years, and this is the thing, is to never ever beat yourself up. Being a good rider is subjective, and in my opinion what a good rider is it doesn't necessarily matter about your position, your leg position, if your heels are down or if your heels are up. In my opinion, it's about the harmony between horse and rider, and if you see a horse that looks really comfortable, a rider that looks really, really happy, and they're in harmony, and there's no pulling or yanking or kicking or anything like that going on, and everybody's happy, I think that's a good rider. So obviously, so long as they're in control and the horse is listening, and everything's going along really, really jolly, I think that's all you've really got to work on. Unless, of course, then you're wanting to go up the level in whatever sphere you're in, whether that's showing, jumping, eventing, dressage, whatever it is. And of course it's many, many lessons, it's many, many hours, it's many, many screams and shouts from instructors on heels down and shoulders back and chest up, chin up, etc, etc, etc. My top tip is just to work on harmony first and then see where you want to go thereafter. What discipline do I think is the hardest? I'm definitely going to say eventing, because you literally you've got dressage, you've got show jumping, and you've got cross country. Eventing, to me, the people that do it, I take my hats off. I literally take my hat off completely to. You could not pay me £1 billion to event. I'll do the dressage side of it. The rest of it, jog on. Especially when you watch them do it and it's been raining and the ground's slippery or the ground's hard, and the size of the show jumps and everything like that, and the size of the horses as well, count me out. Yeah, I'd definitely say eventing is probably the most, was it the hardest? Yeah, the hardest and the most dangerous. How old is Ringo? Ringo is 15. Somebody said hola, hola. Introduce the horses and tell us why you've changed yards if you're comfortable saying. So obviously I've got 2 horses now. I just completely forgot to put Truly in that bunch a minute ago, didn't I, after all that? So now obviously I do have another horse. If you are new here, I have bought well, she was a foal at the time, but she was only like a foal for another 3 weeks after I bought her. So I bought a yearling Welsh Section D mare. She's Palomino and she's called Truly. To introduce the horses, obviously I've got Ringo, who is a Welsh Section C cob. He's a stallion, he's 13.2, and he is liver chestnut roan. And then I've got Truly, who's currently at about 14 hands. She's a yearling Welsh Section D Palomino mare. And leaving Forest Oaks, honestly, I have answered this question a million times. There is no drama there whatsoever. I feel like people think there's a big drama there. Ellie and I are still best mates. Everything is fine. It just ended up being a really long way for me to drive every day. There was lots of diversions as well and road closures. They've just reopened it. But it was working out to being about 45 minutes to an hour just to drive down there, and then obviously I've got to go back. And it was a really, really long way. And as it got busier as well, obviously, because it's just what happens in life, is obviously everybody was having to share turnout. And I do quite like Ringo, especially in the winter, to have full turnout. So less so in the summer because he does get sweet itch, but it means if I can't get up there for a day, at least I know he's had lots of fresh air and lots of exercise and things like that. So yeah, for me that was the 2 reasons, and now he's a lot closer to home. He's literally 15 minutes up the road, and yeah, he can have full day turnout, and yeah, he can have full day turnout if he needs full day turnout, and yeah, it's just a lot easier to get to, that's all. Can you do a buying horse gear in a saddlery vlog? That's not a question. Do I know Harlow and Popcorn? I am lucky enough to know Harlow and Popcorn, and Harlow is a very, very talented young lady with a very, very bright future ahead of her. The way that she's come on as a rider in a year of riding is absolutely phenomenal, and she should be an inspiration to all young children that are starting riding to see how it can be, and how you can go from riding at a riding school or pony club to literally riding FEI Grand Prix dressage horses within a year. It's crazy. He's extremely talented. I think Popcorn was the best buy they could ever have got. I just think he is just the most wonderful all-round pony, I think, ever. He's just amazing. So yes, I do know them. Am I married? I'm not married. I'm very single and very happily single. Do you like Forest Oaks Equestrian? I love Forest Oaks Equestrian. I think it'd be very difficult to not love Forest Oaks Equestrian. Have you seen Forest Oaks Equestrian? It's the most beautiful horse yard, I think, on the planet. I don't know if you had to have asked that one. Will you ever come to Australia? I'm going to Bali. Well, I'll be in Bali actually when this goes live. I hate spiders, to the point that I stay up at night sometimes worrying that there could be a spider in the house. Not even just in my room, but in the house. So I'm not saying never, I'm just not saying next week. Doing more competitions? I am, so by the time this video goes up I would have done one just recently, so do go back if you haven't seen that vlog already. And then when I return from Bali I have a few entered, and now I have a horse lorry as well. There are going to be many, many competitions up and coming. What's my favourite equestrian clothing brand? I have many, so I can't pinpoint that exactly, but what I can tell you is my favourite breeches to ride in. This is not an ad, and I've never actually been sent a pair of these breeches. I've worked with the brand before, but not on the breeches. Just so you know that this review is completely authentic. The Cara hybrids from Blackheart Equestrian are phenomenal, and the way that Erin has designed them, the way that Erin has made them, hat off. Like, they are the best. A hybrid is basically a mixture between a legging and a breech, so you have all of the comfort and the stretch of a legging, but the support and compression of a breech, tied into one. The best thing you will ever wear, and they usually are one of the only pairs of like trousers to ride in that I will wear, because they're the best. Whenever I ride in them, I ride that much better. I get into, God, I've got really hot in here all of a sudden. How did you get into modelling for equestrian brands? This is really simple. I invested in a camera one day, I smiled in front of the camera, posted it on Instagram, repeated it a few times, invested in lots of different brands to be smiling in front of the camera, hoping to obviously get noticed from brands, and then after a while it worked and I had brands contact me, and a year later, here I am. Plan to get any more horses? No, no more. And I know, and you guys all laughed at me when I did the Buying Truly video, because a few weeks before I did do a Q&A, and I did say, you know, if a horse, I think you guys quoted me a few times, and I think I said something along the lines of, even if the all singing or dancing horse actually walked through my door, was free for me to take, I would still say no. And then a few weeks later I go and buy a foal, which is the most random purchase of all time. So I am saying no, but it is a no. I think the only thing that I would look at getting next is a dressage horse. At the moment I haven't got the funds to buy one. They are like thousands and thousands, like a deposit kind of worthy money. And obviously I don't think, and at the moment as well, I wouldn't be able to afford to put a third one in livery as well, because obviously that's a lot. And being a dressage horse, I would definitely want it in livery and want help and people around me, because they're big and they're beastly and they can be quite frisky. So yeah, it's a definite no. This time, I promise. Is there anybody special in my life at the moment? I love the way you've worded that, but no. Yes, there's me, there's Ringo, there's Trudy, there's Jeffrey, there's Gigi, they're the two cats. I've got my two dogs, Maggie and Bridget, my friends and my family, and they're all the special people in my life. Going to get another horse, and if so, will it be a gelding, so you have the whole collection? I'm not getting another horse, but if I was to get another horse, actually it would be a gelding. Not so I have the whole collection, but just so I've got at least something easy that's not going to come into season and doesn't have a pair of balls and all these hormones that Ringo gets in the spring. Future goals, that's a really difficult question. It's not quite a quick fire one. I'm trying to get these out, otherwise this video is going to be 3 hours long. I have lots of goals. I feel like a lot of my goals are very typical goals that a lot of us have. I love working for myself, so to be able to continue doing that would be amazing. To obviously grow doing what I'm doing as well is going to be, you know, would be absolutely amazing. There's lots of goals, but there's kind of too many to read out on here. Do I like Erin Williams? I do like Erin Williams. Again, I'm really lucky to know Erin. She is a very, very lovely girl, very beautiful girl, and again someone to definitely be inspired by, because she has taken what she's got, used it as a tool, and has grown two incredible businesses. I have tried both Blackheart and I have tried Cobra Swim. The quality on both is impeccable. The fit on both is impeccable, and I would say that Cobra Swim is probably my favourite bikini brand company, and Blackheart is probably one of, if not the favourite equestrian brand, especially with the hybrids. They're the best. Again, any more horses in the future? I've got a few of these and I've got a few of why I've moved yard, so I've already obviously answered these ones. What's your favourite discipline to do? Dressage, I love a bit of dressage. I used to be showing, but I feel like showing is very, very, and you can't progress in showing. You're literally trotting and cantering a circle, and even if you get that wrong, which it's just cantering and trotting a circle, if you get that wrong and your face fits, you're still going to win the class, and that's not for me. Got some ones I'm not reading out here. Horse is the best pick of the pony. Unsure. Dream horse, I feel like dream horse is everybody's dream horse. That's probably Valegre. Are you going to breed Truly and Ringo, and if so, when? I am, but not for a really long time. So Ringo's 15, and I'm going to see obviously how he goes, but he probably won't be retiring until he's 20, into his 20s, depending obviously on how he goes. I can't say that because you never know what happens in time, and you don't know how horses age and things like that. Around the time that he is going to be slowing down, at least, Truly is going to be broken and in her prime, so I am going to want something to obviously move on, continue riding, competing, etc, etc. So I think what I might do is freeze his bits and bobs, so that they're available whenever. And maybe in the future, if I have one day in the future, in 10 years plus time, when I maybe have children, Trudy and I can have one at the same time, and then we're both off at the same time and back at the same time. Favourite Lumiere set? I do love the fig this year, but I feel like my two favourites of all time, the papaya, which was this year's spring summer collection, and last year's oak. I loved the oak. I think that was just, it was the best of the best. It suited everything. It suited all the clothes, it suited all the horses. It was just the creme de la creme. Holidays, I'm on a holiday as you're watching this actually. I'm in Bali. Another horse. What camera do you use to take your photos? So video wise, I have this camera here, and this is the Sony, does it have the, yes, the Sony ZV-E10. This is my little vlogging camera, and then my photography camera is, the newer version of the Sony A7. I think it's a Sony A7 V or 6 or 4 or something like that. It's the newest one that came out this February. I think I got it. And then I use a 70 to 200mm lens. How to get sponsors? I think the best way is to do it authentically, and as opposed to messaging brands or being too in a brand's face, etc, etc. Work on your content, work on producing content all of the time, keep posting, buy from brands that you want the attention of sometimes, and wait for them to come to you, and it does happen. I'm proof in the pudding that it does happen. So yeah, just wait, keep working really hard behind the scenes, and they will come. And also obviously the difference between a sponsor and working with a brand or getting something gifted, two different things. So if you're working with a brand, whether they're paying for posts or whether they're gifting you an item, that's kind of what I was discussing a second ago with, but with actual sponsors. So I'm very luckily sponsored by Charles Owen, for example. Charles Owen sponsor me. I have to do a post every month for them, obviously for advertising, marketing, and promoting their company. But I also need to be competing and showing that I'm using the hat to their advantage, and am an advantage, and do work as an advantage to their company. So yeah, they're definitely two different things. I'm not sure whether you're thinking of gifting or actual sponsorships, but both kind of really go hand in hand, and work really hard, compete with your horses, and yeah, it'll all come. What do you do for a job? Love your YouTube. I have a 2-year-old Palomino filly. Oh, we're 20s. So I do content creation as a job. I work on Instagram, I work on TikTok, and I work on YouTube. TikTok doesn't earn any money. TikTok is probably the worst for money. I had a 800,000 viewed video, and I think I got about £3.50 from it, so that's how little TikTok pays. But TikTok is a great tool to get followers fast, and then they venture off into your other platforms, which is a really, really good thing. So I do recommend TikTok for follower growth, just not for the coin. And then Instagram, obviously Instagram doesn't pay you for your posts or things like that, but obviously if you work with brands and get brand deals, then obviously that's how Instagram pays. And then with YouTube, again, it works very similarly to Instagram, where obviously brands can pay you for promotion, but also Google pays from YouTube. So every time you, for example, watch a YouTube video and an advert comes up, this is basically me spilling the tea and letting you into the gossip of all YouTubers, ones that sometimes pretend that they don't earn any money from it. Everybody does. I'm being very transparent here. Won't be very well liked from a lot of influencers right now, but if you see somebody posting a YouTube video and they have over 1,000 subscribers, they will be getting paid from Google for posting that video. Payment really, really differs. Really not very much if you're not getting lots and lots of views. But basically, if you click on a YouTube video and there's an advert that pops up, we get paid for the fact that there is an advert, if that makes sense. Technically, they're paying for advertising by us posting a video, if that makes sense. It's literally like not even a penny per view sometimes, or sometimes it is a few p per view, which obviously adds up over time. And sometimes it's a few p, but every video is different. It's not one influencer has a set amount of p per view. It just changes on every video, which is really bizarre. But yeah, that is what I do. And I absolutely love what I do. I'm so lucky to be able to work in my hobby with my horses. I love it. I absolutely love what I do. I work really, really hard. Like, for example, yesterday morning I worked from 7:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night, and I didn't get time to go to the yard, but I'm not complaining. I absolutely love what I do, and yeah, that's why I put all of my time and all my hours into it. This is Ringo's show name. Love you. Love you too. Ringo's show name is Bookham Lodge Ringo. How many horses are you going to have? Just the 2 at the moment. Did you ever feel like giving up everything to do with horses? Why, when and how did you get on? So I feel like I've kind of discussed this already. I did. At 16 until 18 I gave up for 2 years, and Ringo was being ridden for 2 of those years. Then he had 2 years off, bless his little heart. I feel so bad looking back, but it was just how life life ended, and actually he had a lovely time living out in a field, and you know, he didn't suffer in any way whatsoever. He never went hungry or anything like that. But I do feel like I wasted his best years by being a crazy teenager. And I got back into it from like the last kind of few months of my 18th year up until I was 20, nearly 21, and then 21 to 22, terrible experience with an ex-boyfriend, and then it was lockdown. So yeah, theoretically Ringo hasn't actually had many years of being ridden, and I suppose really even in a showing kind of way, he probably missed his novice years, and that could be why it kind of blew his head going straight into open hoist classes when he was showing, which is why we don't show anymore, which is another reason why we don't show anymore, because he went crazy. What are your plans with Truly? I would love to get Truly into some in-hand. The problem is a lot of the in-hand classes are young stock, which is 1 to 3, and the 3-year-olds obviously are so much more advanced and have the better chance obviously of winning. And 2, I need a male leader, because I do feel like I wouldn't hold her at a show. She is very strong, very big, she's such a good girl and she's so polite, but she doesn't, at the moment at least anyway, have any idea of personal space and will just run straight through you. If you're in her way, doesn't matter. You're in the way. So yeah, I'm so weak. Honestly guys, I'm the most weakest person probably in the world. And yeah, I'm a very, very weak girl. So I wouldn't hold her. That is her plans kind of for the next couple of years, is maybe do some in-hand classes. Then obviously when she's, depending on obviously how she's doing and her mental kind of state at the time, at the end of like the last few months of her 3rd year going into obviously her being 4, she'll be backed, broken and ridden away. There are so many questions about Forest Oaks. It just every single time it's like dum 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 dum. Would you go back? Do you prefer where you are now? Why have you moved? There's all these questions. You guys really want the tea on that, and there is no tea. It was literally just down to location and field time. What attracted you to riding? My mum just put me on a horse one day and that was it. Favourite part of being a YouTube influencer and future plans for the horses. Horse plans, I feel like I've covered that one. And favourite part of being an influencer slash content creator would be working with amazing brands and just every single day, and nearly every single day, having that pinch me moment of, is this my life? And the second thing, which is not the second thing, it's completely on par, is obviously having all of you guys and all of your amazing support, and it's just, I just feel like I live on cloud 9, and I just feel like a lot of the time I'm living on cloud 9, and it's amazing. What are your detailed plans with Truly, and also how are you in yourself? In myself, I'm absolutely fine. Thank you very much for kind of detailed Truly. You'll be, you know, in hand maybe, broken, backed, ridden away, and then at some point in the future have a baby with Ringo. So that's kind of her little plan, especially over the next little while. You ever get another horse? Top 5 horsey brands. Such quick fire. Lemire, Blackheart, Holland Cooper, Ariat, Equestrian. So difficult. Why don't you get a Charles Owen velvet helmet? I have one. So I'm assuming this is because at the time that I posted this, I'd maybe just released that I'd been sponsored by Charles Owen, and I went for a halo hat and I went for the SB8, like the glittery one. I have had a Charles Owen velvet helmet for years and years and years and years. Obviously when I used to be a show rider, I had to ride in a navy show helmet. So I do have a velvet helmet, which is why I didn't need another one. Don't have a boyfriend. What's your new horse's name? Truly. And her show name is Buxwood Truly Scrumptious. That's what sold it for me, the blonde hair and the name. I was like, I don't even care what she looks like. Obviously, luckily she's beautiful, but on the phone I was like, yep, that's it. You don't even need to send me a picture. Sold. When did you start riding? Favourite places you have been to? So I've actually been, so when obviously as I've said 100 times already, I'm currently in Bali while you're watching this, but I actually was lucky enough to go to Bali a few years ago, and it was amazing. So I've got a top 3, and they would be Bali, New York and Paris. My top 3, love them to absolute death. Will you get more horses? Best horse memory, oh. God, it's so difficult, isn't it? I've got so many with Ringo. I really do have so many with Ringo. But the one I think that sticks out the most is probably qualifying for Hoys on Sotheby. We got 49 out of 50 for our show and 49 out of 50 for our confirmation. We were the highest marked by about 6 or 7 points, I think. We were really strongly in the lead, and it was just the most amazing day. It was also at Hickstead, and I feel like if you're at Hickstead winning, it's the most biggest, and I feel like if you're at Hickstead and you're winning, it's again the biggest accomplishment ever. So yeah, that was at the Hickstead Derby in 2010, and we won the Hoys first ridden, so that was a pretty good memory. And also then, of course, as well, being at Hoys with Sotheby, we were placed. I think we were 4th or were we 5th? I can't remember. We were the highest placed Welsh, and again that was again just an absolute dream come true. That am I going to bake Truly? I'm assuming that means break. Am I going to bake her? No. Break Truly. Oh, I've just clicked my back doing that. God, I don't know is the answer. I don't want to get hurt, A, and B, I don't know if I want to see what she's potentially capable of, because I don't want to get scared either, because I am a nervous person is a nicer way to put what I was maybe going to say. So I don't know. So there's people at the yard that can help me break her and can break her, and I can just do all the holding on the ground, filming for everybody or whatever. Or I could send her away for a week, get her all of her bad stuff out of the way so I don't need to see it, and then do the rest of it at home with help. They're my options. I don't know. I've got a few years to think on this. I've got a few years to watch how she grows, because she may be the easiest thing on the planet. And the way she's going at the moment, it would make sense that she is going to be really easy, but you just never know. So I don't know, but I don't want to get hurt. And I also don't want to get put off riding her if I see her do something like turning herself inside out. I don't want the fear. What were your plans with Truly? Favourite sponsor? My favourite sponsor, obviously Charles Owen, and what will we do with Ringo when he has, when you have outgrown him and when he is retired? So I'm not going to outgrow Ringo now. I've done growing, he's done growing. So I'm 5'8", which obviously is quite tall to be riding a 13.2, but he is so stocky I don't look even slightly big. I keep an eye on my weight and make sure I am a certain weight, and I make sure I'm under a certain weight, obviously, especially as he's getting older and his muscles and his joints are also getting older. I obviously do make sure that my diet is A1, so I'm not heavy at all on his back. So I'm not going to be outgrowing him anytime soon, so he will be with me for life. Even once he's retired, he can go and find a happy field somewhere and be, he can either go out in a field and be happy in a field, or he can stay as he is and just go in and out every day, even after he's been retired. So yeah, he's got a home for life, and literally for his whole life. What are your plans with your young ponies? I'm assuming that means Truly and my mum's. I'm not sure what my mum's going to be doing with hers. She's the perfect lead rein pony. She's beautiful, like top draw section A. Obviously she's only 2 as well. But she, and to be honest, she's a really good girl. She's obviously got sharp section A tendencies, but she's actually really good, and she's just a little poppet. So she would make a cracking lead rein pony, but she's obviously got no grandchildren and doesn't know anybody that's young and horsey. So I don't know, actually. That's the answer to that one. Any shows coming up? Yes, bourbon or custard cream? Custard cream. Loads on Truly. Like, what are my plans on Truly? I'm so glad you guys all love her. If you had to only keep one equestrian product, what would you pick? Equestrian product, I'm assuming that's out of everything. Probably, I'm going to say it as a whole thing. I'm going to be clever with how I say this, and I'm going to say tack. Because I can kind of ride in anything else, you know? It's fine. If you had a pony before Ringo, what was his name? I've kind of gone over that. How old were you when you got Ringo? How old was I 15 years ago? Maybe 11, around that age. What is the concept and principle that you will fight for? I don't know. Do you think you're going to buy another horse in? Are you ever going to sell Ringo? No. How tall is Ringo? Ringo is 13.2. How old is Ringo? Ringo is 15. Are you going to do a show jumping competition on Ringo this summer? No. I don't like jumping. Where are you based? I'd love to see you and Ringo at your yard. So I'm not going to obviously tell you guys my address, but Ringo is kept at Blackwater Equestrian. And at some point in the near future, I'm sure I'll be offering meet and greets somewhere. Obviously not at the yard, because it is a livery yard and everybody wants to obviously keep their own privacy and whatever. But yeah, it's the most amazing yard, and if anybody is ever looking for livery and you're in the area or willing to travel, it's the best, and we love it there. How old were you when you started riding? I've gone through that one. We will consider getting another horse while still having Ringo and Truly. How you got Ringo? Why don't you put shoes on Ringo? Ringo has the most amazing feet. Touch wood. He is incredible with his feet. Like, he can go months and months and months. Obviously he doesn't go months and months and months, but he could go months and months and months without seeing a farrier, and that horse's feet are always just perfect. He had shoes on once, so back a couple of years ago when we were showing and we were doing the Hoys qualifiers. He obviously, as we all know, Ringo has the most amazing trot, but with the Welsh cobs, they like them to be like knee high and then out a little bit, whereas Ringo just goes out like that, as opposed to kind of like, obviously not like this, like, I don't know, you know what I mean, the high knee action. So we did put some front shoes on him, not back shoes because he doesn't need back shoes, but we did put some heavier front shoes on him to try and get a little bit more knee lift when we were showing. But again, once we stopped showing, there was no need for him to have them on anymore, so we took them off and his feet are A1. Are you going to do another jumping video? I mean, I'm not going to say never. Christmas time vlogmas, I may put some tinsel over a couple of cross poles and have a jumping video, but you just don't like it. Are you planning on living on your own one day, buying a house? I don't want to disclose stuff like that because I feel like that's a little bit personal as to where I live. So I actually do I want to say that I've moved out about 8 years ago, but I'm not saying any more than that because I don't like to kind of disclose private. I feel like there's private and there's personal. Personal, you can know anything about my personal life. Private life, I do kind of like to keep private, if that makes sense. For safety reasons. How do you stay so fit and healthy with your busy schedule? How do I stay so fit and healthy? I try to do body pump 2 or 3 times a week, which is a Les Mills class. It's just a full body lightweight class. I love doing Pilates. I think Pilates is really good for core strength and then riding strength and posture. And also I horse ride and I walk my dogs. So I don't do anything strategically crazy with fitness. I'm not the fittest person you'll ever meet. I'm also not the fittest person you'll ever meet. I'm also not the healthiest person you'll ever meet, but I'm also not the healthiest person you ever meet. So I'm just I watch my weight, I watch what I do, make sure I'm moving and making sure I'm making healthy choices throughout the day. But yeah. What's your favourite unhealthy food? Cake. Cake. God, there's loads of things I've kind of either discussed or aren't like the best kind of questions. Okay, so I've had a good flick through the rest and they're not as good or beefy content-wise as what I've already got, and I feel like I've been talking for a really long time and this video is going to be the longest Q&A maybe ever to exist. I think what I call it is story time, and I feel like I'll call it like writing story time and updated Q&A, just so you guys are, you know, expecting a good great big 20-minute chunk on one question at the beginning. That's not too clickbaity as well. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for always watching my videos, supporting me. And if you are new here and haven't yet subscribed, I would be so grateful if you were to consider. I post on YouTube every Wednesday and every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. right up until Vlogmas, when I will be taking part in Vlogmas again this year. Whether it's going to be every day or every other day will depend on busyness, schedule and everything else leading up to Christmas. But I hope to see you in my next video and have a wonderful day. Bye!